Where are your Niners right now as they head into this NFC Championship game?
Well, clearly, I don't want to make any excuses for the 49ers. But when you think about last week's game, I think something had to do with the elements, the rain, Brock Purdy not being comfortable in the rain.
Yep.
Maybe they were rusty coming off that bye week. But the true testament for a championship team is going down, scoring when you need it in the fourth quarter. And I guarantee you that you won't see that same 49ers football team this week versus the Detroit Lions. And a lot of the criticism is clearly unwarranted. When you think about where Brock Purdy is in his career, he's only a second year quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's led this team to two consecutive NFC championships. And a lot of people would say if he played a full game last year versus the Eagles,
Yep.
they possibly win that game, and they show that this year. So when you think about it, it's unwarranted. When I go back and I analyze the film on Brock Purdy, he does everything you want him to do as a quarterback. And a lot of the criticism is coming from the playmakers around him, but somebody has to make the proper decisions with anticipation and sometimes move underneath guys with his eyes to be able to create those throwing lanes. And you saw it last week with the big throw over the middle to Juwan Jennings. You saw it to the throw to Conley on the sideline in rhythm. You saw it to the Brandon Ayuk, the pinpoint accuracy with the defensive back all over his back. And then the guts, I compare it to John Elway. Remember when John Elway took off on third down and got down close to the goal line for the Denver Broncos? Well, he did that on second and long to get the 49ers in position to score. And all year long, he's led the NFL in pretty much every statistical category. How can you continue to beat this kid down when he was the last pick in the draft and he's shown all the qualities and capabilities to be a top franchise quarterback? And the biggest thing is this: they say he's a game manager, not a game changer. Well, the data shows differently. Of course, he's not going to be able to escape the pocket and run like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. But right now, Brock Purdy is tied for the most improvised throwing touchdowns on the run in the NFL with 7 with Josh Allen. So a lot of those misconceptions about Brock Purdy can stop.
Yeah, Dante, why do you think he has gotten so much criticism? Why have seemingly people around the league picked on him despite the enormous success that the team's had?
Because he doesn't look like the typical quarterback, because he's not an ego-driven guy, because he handles himself a certain way with the media. He dresses a certain way when he shows up to the game, but he's a kid that has that chip on his shoulder and that fire in his eyes. So I'm not really sure why he gets that criticism. A lot of the criticism is coming from people that don't really understand football. They don't really watch the games, and now they just need something to talk about to get their clicks and their hits. So I would say that that's the reason. You can't really knock a guy who was in the MVP conversation until week 18 of the NFL season.
Yeah,
Brock Purdy is one of the top 3, 4 quarterbacks in the NFL currently.
the Lions, you could make the argument they're playing with house money. It doesn't sound like that's how they're thinking. It sounds like they're coming to win a football game. What do you make? Obviously, the 49ers are touchdown plus favorites. I think most people expect them to win this game. Are you concerned, though, about the Lions? Can they actually go into San Francisco and can they beat the 49ers?
I'm not really concerned about the Detroit Lions. Great story. I'm from Cleveland. I'm a Midwest guy. I understand how bad that city has needed a winner for so long, all the way back to the Barry Sanders days and the Calvin Johnson and the Matthew Stafford. And so many years they've wasted on so many great players' careers. And it's a great story. And, they should be applauded for making it to the NFC Championship. But when I look at it and I look at the matchup, I don't think it's going to be close. And I say this is because Jared Goff played in that division in the NFC West for a long time. And they understand Jared Goff and his habits. They understand Jared Goff under pressure. They understand his strengths and his weaknesses, and they'll attack him. And a lot of that is that vertical pressure where he has to get the ball out of his hands, and he's been forced into some mistakes by the 49ers. I think he's 3-6 versus the 49ers and lost 5 consecutive. So I'm not really worried about him. Amon St. Brown, Laporta, the tight end, and Montgomery. That's going to be the 3 guys that they're really going to have to stop. You have to worry about the yards after catch with Laporta and St. Brown. They're really not vertical threats. And then Montgomery. He's had a phenomenal year. He always falls forward. They're going to come out with that big offensive line, and they're going to try to pound the 49ers. And the 49ers have had some issues versus the run this year. Eric Armstead has been out with injuries. They've had some misfits on gaps. Aaron Jones ran for 53 yards on one of the biggest runs last week that the 49ers has given up all year. So it's going to come down to them taking Montgomery out of the game. If they can stop Montgomery from getting 3-4 yards a carry and they can get him to some 3rd and 7 pluses, that's where Jared Goff struggles. I'm not expecting it to be close. I'm going to go 49ers 37, Detroit Lions 14.
Ooh.